Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. The man, don't call him a buffoon. He just loves his spoons. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Interesting Dr. Seussical rhyme there.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good, battling a little bit of a sinus issue, but that's why I was away this morning. But otherwise, doing good, man.
That's good, pal. That's good. Here at the arena right now, a little different because usually games are on Tuesday and Thursday, but we got a Wednesday matchup with the Rangers tonight. And listen, being at morning skate today, it was kind of a little bit of the skeleton crew out there with Edmund not out there, Vasi not out there. But we see that a couple of guys have gone on IR. What can you tell us about that and what it means for how long you think they're going to be out?
Well, Ryan McDonough obviously blocked a shot the other night, and the fact that guy is not coming back, into the lineup kind of tells you what it might mean for him. And then Dominic James, we saw, took the puck off the face against the Capitals on Saturday. Going on IR means a minimum of 7 games. Hopefully that goes off a lot.
7 days, right? 7 days?
7 days. 7 days. Yeah, 7 days. The sinuses are screwing with that. And look, we don't know exactly the extent of the injuries, but we know that they're going to miss tonight. They're going to miss Saturday's game. I mean, Coop even said it yesterday. Those guys are going to miss a few games at least, right? So it's hockey. Everybody blocks shots, and you're always at risk when that kind of stuff happens. And here we go with one of your most important defensemen and a rookie that has injected a lot of life into this lineup now, unavailable for at least the next couple of games.
Yeah, and then also, obviously the big game's coming up this weekend, right, against the Florida Panthers. Scott Sabourin gets called up. Tkachuk gets called up. Does any of this have to do with that, Double E? Do you think there's like a roundabout way of making sure that it's not so blatant that those guys get called up? Do you think there's a little bit of a, kind of a sleight of hand type of thing here with Coop and the Bolts?
Well, we all had November 15th circled. So I'm not saying that there's a correlation, but I'm not saying there's a correlation, right? So, I mean, look, Tkachuk is not that type of a player, but we know Sabourin is, and certainly we know what happened during the preseason game with Sabourin going after Ekblad there. But look, we said it then that this is not over, right? Like, there's a reason that they, claimed Curtis Douglas off of waivers. They felt they needed to kind of have a little bit more of that in their lineup. And we all had this first regular season game against the Panthers circled on the schedule for a reason. And it will be very interesting to see what happens on Saturday when these two teams do meet for the first time since that 300 penalty minute infested game where the Lightning only finished with like about 11 players on the bench at the end of the game. So, yeah, I don't think you can disguise it or hide it or make it subtle at all when you bring up Sabourin, knowing who you've got on the schedule on Saturday.
Do you think there'll be a line brawl to start the game?
I'd say there's a decent chance of that.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe if that happens, that settles things down a little bit.
Right.
But look,
I was thinking about that too.
But also Gadjevich is out for Florida. He's out for 3 months. He's one of the guys that's been injured for them. Really you've just got AJ Greer in the lineup for them. And, we'll see how Ekblad handles this because I don't think the Lightning feel that he has answered for the hit on Hagel in the playoffs. I don't feel that they feel that is settled at all. So we'll see how Ekblad sort of handles this situation. And the interesting thing will be how the league handles it. Right? Who do they send down there as the officials? That's always a key thing to look for. It's going to be veteran guys. They're not going to send a rookie crew or even a rookie official onto this game because of the history that's already there. It's we're going to be talking. Look, we're already talking about this. The Lightning play tonight, and we're already talking about what's going on Saturday. So
I got a chance to ask John Cooper about this today, and I wish you were here for this. I asked Coop about it, and then I asked Yanni Gord about it. Do you see similarities between the line with Gord, Goodrow, and Coleman with the line that Gord's on now with Holmberg and Girgensons? I mean, I know the high-end offensive talent's probably not there, but, man, the way that they play an honest game, it's just I mean, and there's no surprise. Like, I think that's a reason why they've played better, because they've relied on them and they've kind of set the tone of playing that low risk type of hockey.
Well, you said it right there. Set the tone. They're tone setters. It's there's a reason they've started a lot of periods. You know, when John Cooper throws the lineup out there, and those three guys have started a lot of games and they've started a lot of periods since they've been together. Not every one of them, but for, you know, a good portion since they've been together. And, you know, they forecheck hard. They're hard to play against. And I think that's the similarity between the two lines, is they just make it hard on the opposition. I mean, you know, look, I know Zemgus Girgensons didn't put up a lot of offensive numbers last year and people were ready to jettison him away. But, you know, you look at the way of the style of game that he plays, he's a hard forechecker. He's hard to win puck battles against, right? Like, he works the puck down low so well. Holmberg, we're finding out, is sort of the same mentality. His ability to protect the puck in tight spaces too is really kind of shown through here. Again, like, we see these players when they're on other teams, you know, a couple of times per year, so you don't really get a feel for who they are as an everyday player. And then you watch a guy like Holmberg and see some of those attributes that he has to his game and the strengths that he brings to this lineup. And I think that's one of them, is his ability to protect the puck and win battles down low. And then you just throw in Yanni Gourde, who's in the middle of everything, as he always is, you know, even going back to those days when he was playing with Coleman and Gaudreau. So I don't know if you're going to get the offensive production out of those guys, certainly the way they did. And think of some of the important goals that line scored in that run of the 2020 playoffs in particular. But I think the honesty and the tone setting, I think, is a similarity in how that they approach the game.
How important is these next couple of weeks for a guy like Darren Raddysh? Because it looked like he was going to be the odd man out. Now you're dealing with some injuries. Crozier, we'll see what happens to him. And now that they've kind of switched up the power play a little bit, it seems like this is kind of like, I don't want to say a last-ditch effort, but I think this is an opportunity for him to kind of show that he should stick around.
Well, there's no doubt he's on notice.
Yeah.
Right. But, you know, when they put him out with the top power play unit at the end of the game against Vegas, and that unit produced, you know, that kind of maybe brought him back around a little bit in terms of the importance of him. But look, I mean, we know that that's always been a strength and will always be a strength of Darren Raddysh's game. And the one thing that I liked about the fact that he was on that power play in that game against Vegas is he's not afraid to shoot the puck. He will shoot. And I think that opens up other things for that top power play unit. You know, it opens up lanes for Nikita Kucherov, because all of a sudden now you have to respect the shot from the point. And look, the power play goal that they got against Washington on Saturday was from what? Victor Hedman shooting the puck, right? It deflects off of Jay Gensel, and, you know, it gives them that gives them the lead there at the end of the first period. So I think that with Raddysh in particular, I mean, we know his strengths and we know his weaknesses. He has to make his weaknesses better to make it more of a viable reason to keep him in the lineup, to utilize his strengths, because you can be a great player in one aspect, but if you're deficient too much in the other, that's going to hurt your team, you're not going to find your way into the lineup. So I think you're right, especially with McDonough's injury now, and Crozier's injured, just so people understand he is injured. You know, we'll see where that kind of goes with him. You know, but this is an opportunity for Raddysh to kind of, you know, get his game back to where it was at the end of last season, where he had been better defensively. And that's what it's always going to be with him. How are you handling the defensive side of the game?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you hope that he can, even this deep into his career, kind of take another step forward and another step forward, because he's a great guy. And what he gives you offensively, if he could just make up for it a little bit defensively, I mean, it's so hard to find right-handed shot defensemen in this freaking league. When I'm watching this team and I'm looking at a guy like Brandon Hagel, who started out so slow, and now you look at him and he's like a point per game guy. It's amazing how he's been able to kind of turn this entire thing around. And now we're starting to see with the Olympics just a couple of months away. I saw something yesterday, and Cirelli and Hagel are not on the roster. And you were one of the few guys that even before the Four Nations came out, you were like, I think Cirelli and Hagel have a good chance to make the team. And I'm looking at it, and I know, you know, it's Celebrini and Bedard, and everybody wants those high-profile guys. But I think Cooper and Julian did a really good job for Team Canada, understanding it's not about taking the 12 best forwards. It's about taking the best team. And you know how much Cooper and Bruce love Cirelli and Hagel. I mean, when you look at how they're going to bring this team to the Olympics, do you think that they're going to go with pretty much the same team? Do you think Cirelli and Hagel have a good chance? Because Pointer's already in there.
I think that they have an excellent chance based on what they did in the Four Nations.
Right.
Because it's not all about offense.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's great that Macklin Celebrini is near the top, of the scoring leaders. And I think one of the things that people don't see about Celebrini is he is a puck winner, right? He does win a lot of battles, even for a second-year pro. And even if he doesn't make the team, that does not discount the type of player that Macklin Celebrini is. Right. It's just that theoretically, hypothetically, if you're in a gold medal match and you have to face Team USA's power play, who's out there killing the penalties?
Right.
Who are the guys? Like, you go back to the Herb Brooks line in the 1980, when they were picking their players for that team. He's like, I'm not taking the best players. I'm taking the best team. I'm looking for the best team. And that's what it comes down to. The situation with Canada, anytime they go to a best-on-best international tournament like this, it's always going to be about who doesn't make the team.
Right.
It's never about who makes the team. I mean, the McKinnons and the McDavids and those guys are automatics, right? But it's always going to be about, well, why wasn't this guy? Nick Suzuki's name has come up. Does Suzuki take Cirelli's spot? It's hard for me to envision after they had success with this team last year in winning, the Four Nations, that they wouldn't. There'll be some changes for sure.
Right.
But I know the projections have Cirelli and Hagel sort of on the bubble. Considering who their coach is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that can happen.
Yeah.
Because they're still one of the top penalty killing duos in the league. Now, I don't think they've shown the same chemistry so far this year that they did last year. Right? It seemed like last year, especially on the PK, they were creating offensive chances every time they were on the ice as a penalty kill unit. But when it comes down to it, when you're trying to put together this type of a team, it's great that Bedard and Celebrini are up there among the scoring leaders, but you already have your offensive guys, right? You've already got your top offensive guys. You need guys who can do other things and play roles.
Right.
And let me tell you, if Brandon Hagel, who completely endeared himself to Canadian hockey fans last year with the puck drop fight against Matthew Tkachuk, is not on this team, something's wrong.
No doubt about it. And what if they don't put them on the team and they lose? Right? Like,
well, and that's just the way it's always going to work.
It's always going to be like that, but especially
if they
because you have a proof of concept, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, if you win, well, they made the right choices. If you lose, well, why'd you pick this guy instead of this guy? Why'd you pick this guy instead of that guy? That's just the nature of the beast, and that's why, these decisions, especially for Team Canada. I mean, look, in 2014, who was not selected to Team Canada? Steven Stamkos. His second, when he was having – I'm sorry, not 14, 2010. When he had his 50-goal season – that year he got off to a great start, but he was the 19-year-old second-year player,
right?
Who for Team Canada's situation, they already had their top guys. I mean, I'm already saying we didn't even make that team, and we all know how things kind of happen with that. But I find it hard to think that Cirelli and Hagel won't be a part of Team Canada just because of the specific type of role they will be asked to play.
How much of a factor is that going to be this year at the Olympics, as far as the scheduling, as far as who's not there? I mean, I think it could be a huge advantage for the Lightning that Russia's not there, because Kucherov and Vazzy could get some well-deserved time off, and those guys could be rejuvenated and maybe a little pissed, right? Like, I mean, I remember being in Toronto for the All-Star game a couple years ago, and everybody's talking about the Four Nations, and they asked Draisaitl and Pasternak, and they're looking at each other like, what do we care? Like, they were not happy that they were not involved in that. They wanted to be involved. So could that, in the long run, be an advantage for certain teams, but especially with depending on what players aren't in there? Because you look at top teams and top players, and, you look at Hellebuck's going to be playing, right? You look at all the McDavid's going to be playing, all these top tier players, but like, I mean, you look at the Lightning and you talk about top 20 players. I mean, if the Lightning have two of those guys in Kucherov and Vasilevsky, they're not going to be playing.
It depends on how they utilize it. Certainly, less wear and tear for sure, right? You're not going because we know how intense, especially the later round games. I mean, there'll be gimme games as there usually is in these international situations, but if you're not taking 35 hits during a two-week span, if you're Kucherov, if you're not facing 75 shots over the course of whatever the Olympic tournament would be, if you're Vasilevsky, I think it can help them, especially Vazzy. I mean, with the way things went in training camp, and he's already taken a few more days off practices and morning skates like he did today than maybe we're used to seeing from him. But all that is by design. So the fact that he's going to get basically a week and a half off with nothing going on, right, where he can completely get away from the game and the mental rest more than anything else and the physical rest for a goalie of the type of hockey that he's played throughout his career. I think that can be a huge advantage. Now, having said that, I mean, the Lightning are going to have Chernak and, Point and Gensel, like Hedman, some of their top guys, Hedman, they're all going to be part of the Olympics. So, they'll have certainly their fair share of players who participate in the Olympics, but having two of the top guys, two of the most important guys on your team, not participating, I think you can use that as a positive.
Think Vasi plays on Saturday against Florida?
Excellent question.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either.
I think you keep him away from that whole thing.
I do too. And look, Johansson shut the Panthers out down there last year.
Yeah.
Right. And that was a game where Kucherov got ejected, the 5-minute major. They had to kill off a long extended 5-on-3 in that game. And Johansson was the guy in net. He shut him out. I think in this situation, I agree with you. I think Vazzy starts on Sunday against Vancouver.
All right. So what do you think happens on Saturday? What are we going to be talking about next Wednesday regarding that game?
Well, like we said, this situation between these two teams is not over. It's not over. I remember I've had some conversations with Brian Engblom, after that happened. And, the Flyers in the 70s were that team, right? They were the Broad Street Bullies. Yep. And, they would do that. And then, there was a game where the Canadians basically said, enough. We're going to stand up to you. And they had one of those type of games. And that's when the Canadians turned things around, and they were the team that won back-to-back cups, right? So that's what I'm saying. The preseason was fine, right? It sent a message. The Lightning certainly wanted to send a message, and they paid for the message that they sent. But I don't think the message was fully delivered, right? I think that message is going to be fully delivered on Saturday, and I'd be surprised if Savarin and Douglas are both not in that lineup. For a number of reasons, because, again, I don't think that A.J. Greer has answered for his sucker punch of Hagel during the preseason game here in Tampa. I don't think that they feel Ekblad has answered, especially with, sort of the blasé attitude that Ekblad had when he was asked about it after the hit. I'm moving on, right? Like, he didn't reach out to Hagel in any way, nothing. And the fact that, what's the saying on the championship rings? Apologize for nothing. We apologize for nothing. Yeah. I mean, that's just blatantly throwing it in people's faces. Yeah. So we will be talking next Wednesday about what will probably be a fight-filled fest on Saturday that just happens to be centered around a hockey game.
Lastly, we're hearing more and more about Steven Stamkos, and just saw something yesterday, and Corey brought this up. Happy birthday to our pal Corey Long. Nightmare scenarios. We talked about it on Halloween, and people are talking about Steven Stamkos possibly going to play for the Florida Panthers or playing for a team like the Anaheim Ducks, who have been fantastic. I mean, it'd be Anaheim. I mean, I look at that, and I'm sure he would love that. Go out there, play with Killer. You know what I mean? Like, that'd be pretty. There's veterans, Kreider over there, Trouba. So I mean, guys that have been around the league. So that'd be a nice veteran locker room mixed in with some of the young guys. But man, to see Steven Stamkos in a Florida Panthers jersey, brother. Ooh, boy. That would not be well received here in the Tampa Bay area. Possibilities of that happening, probabilities of that happening. I mean, because it's not going well there in Nashville for Stammer.
No, it's not. But let's remember he has complete and total control over whatever happens. Right. He has a complete no move clause, which means they can't waive him, can't trade him, can't move him at all without his agreeing to it. Could I see him agreeing to a trade to the Florida Panthers? I can't see it.
No, okay.
I can't see it. There's just too much, I think, between the two. Look, I know it's a professional situation, and he has to green light that move, and I don't see that coming to fruition for that. Look, I think even if Nashville wants to move him, that's difficult.
Yeah,
Like, it's difficult. Like, first of all, he gets to pick to where he wants to go, which means you're limited in what you can do.
and you got to eat some of that money, right?
Then you got the $8 million contract, right? And I don't know what Nashville's situation is, but remember the new CBA, some of those new provisions kick in, and that also limits the number of retentions you can have, which means you'd have to have a retention on Stamkos's contract for 3 years, including this year, right? So there's a lot to take in outside of just say, well, we feel that we need to move a contract, because the contract is difficult to move. Remember Roberto Luongo, the famous line he said, "My contract sucks," because nobody wanted to take on the deal towards the end of his career. And I think that's the same here when you look especially at the lack of production that Steven Stamkos has had playing with Nashville when it felt like a good fit at the time. So, no, it's hard. Well, first of all, it's very hard for me to imagine Stamkos in a Florida Panthers jersey to begin with, but I also think it would be difficult to make that work and get him to sign off on it.
God, I hope that doesn't happen.
No, Corey, no nightmare scenario.
What do we got up on lightninginsider.com, my brother?
Hey, it's been slow, man. Like I said, I've been trying to fight off some sinus issues here really since Saturday night, so I've kind of laid low for the past few days. Trying to get as much rest as I can. I feel a lot better now, so I will be at tonight's game. So nothing up since Saturday's recap, but still plenty of content up there to digest and everything else. And look, the schedule is going to start getting busy. They play every other day right now, basically through the end of the month. Coming out of November. So busy times coming ahead for this team.
Going to be crazy, man, for sure. I won't be there tonight. Got baseball practice. We got a big tournament this weekend, so we tagged off. I did morning skate. You're going to do the game tonight. Make sure you follow Erik on Twitter /X, Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C, 2 S's after the D. Sign up for lightninginsider.com today. $10 off if you use that promo code JNZ, not just this year, but every recurring season after that. Double E, always a pleasure, my friend. Get healthy. Enjoy the game tonight. Talk to you next week.
All right. Yeah, I don't think we'll have anything to talk about.
Got that right, pal. Thanks, E.
All right. Be well.
All right, man. You too.